You are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
My name is Chris Panteli.
and we're going to get right into it. Chris, what is your hot take?
Well, thank you so much for having me. My hot take is that in the era of AI search and the modern search landscape, building a personal brand is now no longer just something that we should be thinking about. It's going to be essential for long-term discoverability and survival of businesses.
I feel like this is an important conversation for all of us to have because for a long time it's felt like personal brand was something that, you get to do if you're intending to write a book, right? Or you're the CEO of Microsoft and people care what you have to say because it
Mm.
affects the stock market. So, are we still just talking about those people or does it matter more for the small dogs like us?
Yeah, I think it matters. Me and my business partner today were just doing some recordings, and we were looking at ChatGPT and the recommendations it was making for if you were looking for a lawyer in the Denver area. Now, Google, very much the old school 10 blue links, and it was surfacing law firms. So actual firms that it was putting in its top results that you'd then have to go and click into and, look through, okay, this is the recommended law firm, this is the recommended law firm. Whereas ChatGPT was making granular recommendations of specific attorneys and then across a breadth and depth of different legal services. So as people are starting to have this much different search experience, not just these very high intent specific keywords inside of Google, but this real conversation, which could start from anywhere and end somewhere completely different than you think. You might not even know you need an attorney, but you're having this conversation with a large language model. And by the end of it, it's recommending specific people. So why is it recommending those people? It's because it can trust those people as individuals, as brands, as individuals linked to brands and businesses. And I just think, yeah, it's not just the CEO of Microsoft. It's, if you're a roofing company, if you are a lawyer, dentist, doctor, and everything in between, the people behind the business are now going to be just that much more important than the business itself.
I mean, you took that even a step further than I was thinking because it never occurred to me that those more like local on the ground, I guess I will call them type roles, could really benefit from that. Because
Mm.
I immediately went to, my world, which is tech consulting and business consulting. And so, like, we've been told to build our personal brands for a long time because when people hire you, they're hiring your subject matter expertise. They're hiring you as the expert. So you gotta sell yourself in a way. But my mom is a real estate agent, and
Hmm.
I immediately had the thought of like, "Oh, she needs to have a website that is tuned for her area, that is designed in a way to speak, I'll use that in air quotes, to an AI LLM, right? And she almost needs to do like an SEO play for herself because not only do these AI agents want to be helpful to their users and like recommend, who you should go with, they also know you, right? In a way, I'm going to use that word loosely because, like, when I'm talking with my ChatGPT, for example, it's like, well, because you own this business and you do this other thing, I recommend X, Y, and Z. And that's a much more personalized search than just a regular old Google search would give me.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, real estate is like what our bread and butter spaces. So we work with a number of realtors, and we've been doing this for a number of years now, building authority for that specific realtor. And yeah, you're 100% correct. The sort of recommendations that these LLMs are going to make is going to be based on what it knows about the the area and then like the people that are servicing those areas. And so we need to be able to influence those large language models so that it's recommending us. So take your mom, for example, as a realtor. Maybe she has a specialism, I don't know,
Mhm.
homes for first time buyers. She's going to be operating in a very specific location. And then if she can start influencing and doing podcasts, being quoted in like hyperlocal news, national news, and continually having that information fed into the knowledge graph about who she is, what she does, and who she surfaces, and who she services. Sorry. Then when I go in, I'm not sure if maybe your mom's in Iowa as well. We talked before we
Yeah.
came on. You said you're in Iowa. If someone's looking for a first time home, I'm moving to Iowa. I've got a young family. I'm looking for a realtor. Who can you recommend? Like, that's where it's then going to recommend, that's what we want to influence. And it's
Right.
so important. It's not just necessarily going to say, use this brokerage firm. It's going to say, use Alicia, Mrs. Nolte's mom, because, we trust and know that she has done X, Y, and Z for these types of
Yeah.
clients successfully before.
Well, and every real estate agent, if you're in it long enough, you find out what you're really good at, right?
Mm,
So like we're in Iowa, we have a wide variety. We have like farms and acreages, and then we have, more townhomes. Like it's really the full expanse. And I can just picture some of the agents because she's actually the broker for her firm. So she does a lot more of like the brokerage stuff. But I can picture, her as the leader of her real estate group saying, okay, we're going to make these pages for our real estate agents. And you, agent one, you are one of the best at these luxury townhomes. So we're going to make
mm,
sure that it talks about like, okay, if you are, Jill's great at luxury townhomes and yada, 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 but she does have some agents who are like interior designers.
mm,
And so she likes to give those agents when someone's buying a fixer upper, right? Go bring someone who has a construction background and a fixer upper background so that they can advise you on what, when you're looking at this, are you looking at a $10,000 fix or are you looking at a $150,000 fix? And that's a different decision process based on the buyer. I mean, to me, what you're describing here is creating a way to really truly deliver on a buyer centric experience because you're getting the right people to the right agents. Everybody's going to win in this situation if they can get the ChatGPT algorithm to play nice.
yeah. And that's, and that's what it is. It's influencing. We used to just, if we were going to be like pre-internet, it was word of mouth, let's say. So, I mean, like you're going to have your specialisms, people in real estate operating, like you said, maybe they've got a slant towards interior design. So they're already doing what they should be doing, focusing on their specialism. Um, Pre-internet, it would be word of mouth. You do a good job, people will recommend you. Then really we just had Google to contend with. So we want to, or obviously paid ads, but let's say Google, you're going to want to optimize your website for Google. People are going to look for listings, look for properties in different areas. They're either going to be taken to the portals or they're going to be taken to like independent brokerage websites. It's going to show potential listings. But now people, when they're specifically looking for a realtor, how do those realtors let the LLMs know that this is what they do, this is what they're good at, and therefore, if somebody goes on this long conversational flow with ChatGPT or Perplexity, starting off by saying, look, I found a couple of potential places in Iowa that I think me and my family would be interested in purchasing. We want something that's like a fixer upper. So we want like a realtor that can help us with this specifically. And if then ChatGPT can recommend the specific realtors that have got those experiences, like you said, it's win-win-win across the board. But how do we influence ChatGPT, or how do we get our information into the knowledge graph, into the ether? That's the question. And it all starts and stems from building personal brand.
It seems to me too, especially in these more like word of mouth relationship businesses, when I think about my local plumber or my local construction people or even a lot of my local real estate agents, their website experiences, their tech presences, their tech savviness, like stereotypically, not always the strongest because they're relationship based games. Like for a
Mhm.
long time, decades, this has been a word of mouth, who network based approach. And I think this is probably a skill that a lot of them don't actually have built in because they haven't had to have that skill. So, how do we start to build this capability? If someone's listening to this and says, okay, I hear you, Chris, I am on your side. I want to start building my personal brand for this purpose. How do I go about doing that?
Yeah, that's great. And a really good observation that we have like legal firms in the UK that it looks like they haven't updated. They built their website when the internet came out and they haven't touched it since. Like,
That is 100% how I was looking for a lawyer actually
yeah,
recently, and 100% I was like, "I can't even look at this website." It is
yeah,
straight I'm hearing, like, the dial-up tone in the
yeah.
back of my mind because this is how old that website feels, and I finally just said, "Screw it, I'm gonna email my husband who's a CPA and say, who do you work with that's a lawyer
Mhm.
and is reasonable and easy to work with?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, here's some names." So, like,
Yeah.
I completely did the who do you know word of mouth thing, But, it might have been easier to just say, who go to my ChatGPT. It never occurred to me.
Mm. Yeah. And so, yeah, great question though. Where do we start? So let's take like an old school lawyer, hasn't looked at this, outside of, a lot of these guys have, or girls, they've got personal brands within the local community, but
Mhm.
we need to transfer that into an online, algorithmic sensibility. So how do we do that? So it starts with like a website, an optimized website. It doesn't need to look gorgeous, although in the era of, vibe coding, it is pretty easy now to make like a stunning SEO optimized website. We want to have things like a Google business profile. And you want to have this fully completed as well. And we want to generate and garner reviews as well. This is really, really important. Um, and then we want to make sure that we have a clear connection between the business and the people inside of the business. So this sounds obvious, but it is overlooked by not just, small local businesses, but like large businesses as well. So I'm talking about an about page, a team page. Within that, uh, detailed bios, not just, Jenny accounts, profile picture. That's it. We need more than that. We need to know what's Jenny's surname? How long has she been in accounts? We need to have external links to her social profiles. We need the social profiles to accurately reflect that the people are working for the companies that they say that they work for. So you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is connected to your company page. You want to have granular information on your social media about who you are and what you do. And across these multiple platforms, we want to derive a consensus of information. So if you are a lawyer operating in Iowa and you do family law, then you want to make sure that all of your profiles reflect that. So you don't want your TikTok to say that you are, a train spotter from Iowa and no mention of the fact that you are a lawyer doing family law in Iowa. You want your Instagram to say that, your YouTube. So a consensus of information. LLMs, they derive consensus. That's how they're able to then trust. So if we need to make sure we've got the same information across all these platforms, and we need to have a presence on multiple platforms as well. And we need to be producing content, and the content is where we're able to sort of guide the narrative. So if we want to talk about family law in Iowa, recent cases, recent wins, make sure that we're producing content in and around that across multiple platforms. And then also external places as well. So podcasts, industry specific podcasts, local podcasts, and then also trying to be featured and quoted in news, local news, hyper local news, and then national as well, through link building and digital PR. All of this, as you can see, it's putting dots that can then be connected. And that's what grows personal brand visibility and tells LLMs and the AI models who you are and what you do by having that repetition of information across a whole plethora of places.
One thing that I think is super interesting is I was kind of like making a list of the places that you said people need to go do this. I really only heard you talk about like what I'll call earned media, where it's like your website, you can control that. You're not paying Google to push it out to people. Your social media, you can control that. You aren't necessarily paying, ads to make the LLM pay attention to you. It's not like I can run ads for ChatGPT and be like, ChatGPT, this ad's for you so that you know who Alyssa Nolte is. And when you talk to people about me, I want you to say the following. Like, that's not really how this works, right? I can't just write a letter to Sam Altman with OpenAI and say, hey, make sure you plug this into the algorithm. So it's really about that consensus of information. And can I cheat? Can I buy my way into getting ChatGPT to do what I want? Or is that not really how it works?
You can influence ChatGPT. You can't run ads to tell ChatGPT who you are, but what you can do is you can ask ChatGPT, what do you know about me? ChatGPT, what do you know about Chris Panteli? Explain to me who he is, what he does, what's his business. Across all LLMs, Perplexity, Claude, whatever LLM you're going to do, you will then see a list of sources. So ChatGPT is going to tell you specifically what it knows about Chris Panteli, what I do, the business that I run, and it's going to tell me the sources that it's pulled from. You'll see in there often, maybe it's pulling directly from my website. So that's a great, easy, low hanging fruit win. So if I haven't updated my about page on the website in, let's say, a couple of years, I've taken my eye off the ball. We've, transitioned from what we originally did 2 years ago to something a bit more specialized, let's say. And I haven't bothered updating my about page. So ChatGPT is telling me that, let's say I was a lawyer in Iowa and I did broad law. Okay. So I set up my website 2 years ago. I do all law. And actually now really I'm only focusing on family law. I hadn't updated my personal website. Go into ChatGPT. What does Chris Panteli do? Oh, he's a general lawyer from Iowa, and it's pulling from my website. So the first easy place in order for me to influence ChatGPT to tell the story that I want it to tell, I identify the source. It's my own property. I can go in and update that and amend that to be exactly what it is that I want. You then see a whole host of other sources. You'll see a lot of listicles, social media, ChatGPT, and all LLMs. They love to pull from things like podcast transcripts, YouTube videos as well. So getting involved in all of those external third-party places can be a lot easier than you think. Maybe pulling from the Iowa legal uh, directory, let's say, and that's something which you can go and claim that profile and amend or edit the information. Maybe it's pulling from an article on the BBC of best lawyers or information on lawyers in Iowa. Maybe that's less easy to approach the BBC to, amend or update the article. But you can see where you can start to identify the opportunities and then go in and manually or, at least have a strategy in order to influence them.
One of the things that someone came on the show, it had to have been like a year ago now, and they were talking about how there's this big fear about when you're using ChatGPT to create content for your website that eventually gets read by the LLM and like this vicious cycle. There's a lot of people who have fears about like, oh, we're going to create content that the LLM created and then therefore we'll ignore because it knows it created it. I had someone on the show about a year ago that said, no, you got to write for the LLM. Like there's a balance between what the LLM needs to see and how the LLM needs to see it, right? And the way that it will best read that content to produce the outcome it's looking for, and the way that people need to see it so that it can best produce the outcome that those people need to see. So do you see some of that? Like, do we need to change how we present this information on our websites and social media in order for the LLM to understand it and thereby use it?
In terms of like website blog content, we want to make sure that the information that we put on the website is as easily passable and readable from the LLMs, the bots, as possible. So a lot of that is going to be your basic like technical SEO stuff. Using headers, uh, sentences, meta tags, and all of the basic SEO 101 stuff. We want to get straight to the point. We want to use things like structured data, bullet points, things like that. And that's in order to have the LLMs be able to read your blog content, understand it, possibly utilize it as a source. So I think that is a consideration definitely when we're producing content on our own website. For social media, this is more about your own personal brand and messaging and how you want to portray yourself. I don't think you want to produce your social media content to perform best on the social media platform that you're posting on. So, we know that short form video does well on TikTok. There's no point trying to post a 30-minute video on TikTok. It's going to do less well. Every platform has its own cadence and style. So, you want to produce content in that way. And then everything else, like I said, is just trying to understand where it is that LLMs are trusting. I think now it's heavily skewed towards listicles, third-party listicles. So if you type into ChatGPT, like, I don't know, best email management software, it's going to pull from listicles. So maybe HubSpot's done an
Yeah.
article on top 10 email, I can't remember what I said, email tools, let's say. And it's going to be pulling from those listicles. How long that will last, I don't know, because it's quite easy to go and either just pay to get yourself injected into an existing listicle, or you can use something like Parasite SEO, where you'll go and find a more powerful website that will let you buy a post on there for like $300, and you can write your own content, and then it'll go and rank, and then they'll pull from there. Obviously, Google, in a genius way, invented its backlink system in order to be able to surface trusted results in its top page. If I started a website tomorrow trying to give advice on cancer, why is Google most definitely not going to put my website on its top page of results is because my website's not trusted, it's brand new, and no
Yeah.
other website has linked to me. Whereas the BBC or Healthline, these websites are huge. They've got millions of links, and therefore they're trusted, and that's how Google trusts them. So I think it's really early to know. I think it's really early for anyone to say that they know the answers as well. But like with Google, we can sort of reverse engineer, go and see what's happening, ask about yourself, see what the sources are, see what it knows, and also have an internal process and documentation on what it is that you want the world to know about you. Because that's one of the hardest parts. For me as well, it's really difficult to sit down and like come up with like your brand ethos and like your personal views. So that's like the place to start, even before you find out what it is that the world knows about you.
Considering all of the people that you know or aspire to know, who else is out there? Who else do we need to pay attention to?
Someone who I absolutely love is a guy called Martin Lewis. He is known as the money saving expert. He started a money saving website like 20 years ago called the Money Saving Expert. He's now a multi-gazillion millionaire. He does loads of work with the British government. He's a genuinely lovely, lovely person. He has a regular podcast. He is the epitome of building a personal brand. He's just a super nice guy and like did what everyone dreamed of doing 10 years ago, starting a blog about something and making an absolute fortune. But he is fantastic. And if you can listen to his podcast or see him on interviews, I think you'll fall in love with him. And he's got great advice and he's really humble. And yeah, he's definitely worth watching, especially in terms of building a personal brand.
And if someone is really connecting with you, they want to learn more, they want to find you online, where can we find you?
LinkedIn is a great place to find me. Chris Panteli. I think I'm the only one on there. There might be one other Chris Panteli who owns a sewing company in America somewhere, but not him.
And if you are looking for me, you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can search Alyssa Nolte. If you see the notorious plant killer, you know you have found the right Alyssa Nolte. I also write on Substack under Alyssa Likes to Talk. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I loved this conversation, and I'm so excited about all of the ideas that it sparked. I've got a bunch of notes from my mom about things that we can do for
Yeah.
her real estate agency, and I'm really looking forward to everyone who heard this episode. Tell us, what did you like about it? What are you going to do for your personal brand? And how are we going to make sure that ChatGPT and all the LLMs know us for what we want to be known for? So, Chris, thank you so much. This was a really great conversation.
Thank you. I've got a cheat sheet as well. If anybody wants to go and try and get their first pieces of like tier one coverage, it's linkify.io/cheat-sheet. And your mom could definitely use that as well. Go and get featured in realtor.com and New York Times. So it's there for free.
Obsessed. Well, I will make sure everybody gets access to that link in the show notes. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. There are millions of podcasts out there, and something like 70,000 new episodes are released every single day. It's not lost on me how lucky I am to have such an incredible community who show up and support this show. To be a guest or nominate someone who should join me on the pod, head to alyssanolte.com. And if you're looking for ad-free episodes, you can join me on Substack. I post all new episodes of my podcasts and share appearances on other people's shows, plus bonus content and updates on what I'm working on. Search Alyssa Likes to Talk or tap the link in the show notes.